We now have the official numbers, or close to, of the blue flu following the death of Rayshard Brooks and the officers being charged. And according to CNN, 170 Atlanta officers called out sick after cops were charged in Rayshard Brooks' death. It's actually surprising to me. Now, on the surface, it may seem like a lot. I don't know how many police are in Atlanta, but I know in New York they have tens of thousands. Well, total staff, I think a good portion are administrative. I had expected the number to be a lot larger. But what we're seeing now is this sentiment over the outrage from police that they're being abandoned has real world effects. Crime is skyrocketing in New York. New York is revolting, and this is the blue flu. Now, I don't want to rehash this older story. I mean, it is an update, to be fair. I'll read a little bit about this. But what I really want to get to is New York's reaction. Police are quitting. Check this out. NYPD precinct commander who quit in protest over attempts to vilify cops amid the nationwide protests is given a hero's send-off by his colleagues. And get this, the SBA has called on cops to defy Mayor Bill de Blasio. De Blasio and the cops are fighting each other. This is what the far left wants, man. I got to be honest. They want the police demoralized. They want the people and the cops to turn against each other. I'll tell you what, man. Said it before, I'll say it again. Most cops are small town cops, and they're absolutely fine. 100%. I have had no problems in my town. In fact, I've only had really, really positive interactions with the police where I live. Good guys, calm, rational, responsive. When you live in big cities, things are different. It's disconnected. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. You got bureaucracy. Everybody's stacked on top of each other, and it becomes a serious problem. So sure, maybe in New York, you got big problems, but most people don't want to abolish their police because they're happy with them. Let's read a little bit about this blue flu, see what's going on. CNN says, about 170 Atlanta police officers called out sick in the days after a pair of city cops were charged in the shooting death of Rayshard Brooks. Garrett Rolfe, who was fired after he shot Rayshard Brooks twice in the back on June 12th, was charged 5 days later. We then saw a bunch of protests. The roll call sheets show the 170 officers were out sick from June 17th when Fulton County DA Paul Howard announced the charges. They were out sick from till June 20th. There you go. So for about 3 days. The killing of the 27-year-old man came amid nationwide protests calling for an end to racism. And yeah, we get it. The public should know that's a significant amount of police officers who did not come to work during that time period. You know what, man? They came right back. Pathetic. You know what? This is why you get what you deserve, man. Now, this NYPD cop, check this out. This dude quit. Now, this guy I got respect for. Look, I said it. I worked for a company. They wanted me to lie. I said no. My contract, and I tried severing my contract. They wouldn't do it. This dude is being vilified, so he stood up and said, I'm out. He's not the only one. Several cops have announced they would straight up quit. Now, there's a problem here. I don't want these cops to quit. The cops that are quitting seem to be the good cops. The ones that are standing up on principle, and that's a bummer. So what are we left with? The opportunist cops who don't care about honor or integrity? That sounds like it's going to make everything worse. And maybe that's what the far left is hoping for. They want cops and the public to have like fear and anger towards each other. I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the fringe extremist activists who romp about causing damage, throwing bricks through windows. They want the cops to be demoralized so they can occupy and set up autonomous zones and do whatever else they want to do. That's what's happening. Check this out. They say an NYPD precinct commander was given a hero send-off by colleagues on Friday after he retired in protest over sweeping police reforms across New York. Deputy Inspector Richard Brea, who commanded the Bronx's 46th precinct, was treated to an NYPD helicopter flyby, police bagpipers, and a ride in a vintage cop car during his farewell ceremony Friday afternoon. The veteran cop blasted politicians in a speech at the event, saying they want to blame and vilify officers amid nationwide protests demanding an end to police brutality and systemic racism. We get it. I'm just so sick of these articles constantly doing that. We know. We understand why there's protests. They say, Brea announced that he was standing down from the force this week, saying he could no longer lead officers in the wake of reforms across New York City and the wider state, including a ban on chokeholds and making police disciplinary records public. The reforms were made The reforms were made following the deaths of multiple black people during arrest or in police custody in recent years, and as shocking footage has been widely circulated on social media of NYPD cops violently attacking peaceful protesters over the last month. There's the media game right there. That's it. Have there been police attacking peaceful protesters? Yes. Have there been videos of people trying to kill cops? Yes. And that's what's left out. Look, man, I don't like the violation of anyone's civil rights. I've had bad run-ins with cops. I like the reform in Colorado where they say the cop could be liable up to $25,000 if he violates your civil rights. I really love me civil rights, man. That Constitution's pretty amazing. Golden. But leaving this stuff out is what creates the warped perspective, which is making things worse. Saying that, videos of NYPD cops attacking protesters last month. Yeah, what about the video of the protesters bashing the cop over the head with some kind of object? Are you going to talk about that? How about you just say videos emerge of NYPD and protesters attacking each other? There you go. But they omit it. I don't know why. Maybe it's bias. Maybe it's ignorance. They say the cop was seen walking out of the Bronx precinct at around 3 p.m. Friday when he was greeted by a huge crowd of cops from multiple precincts. Brea beamed as he posed for pictures and hugged his colleagues before giving a rousing speech slamming the police reforms. Their blood is in the concrete of every street corner. But these politicians don't want to remember that, he said in his speech, which was met with cheers of support. They want to blame and vilify everyone here. I won't have that, no, sir. He added, we have a duty and responsibility to respect and guide other cops. Brea blasted what he called weak political leadership that is threatening to bring the city back to the 70s and 80s and is dishonoring the memories of cops who lost their lives along the way. He also paid tribute to his colleagues, saying, my 46 family, the Alamo, I love you, man. Well, good for him, dude. Good for him. I think the NYPD's got some bad apples, and they're not getting weeded out. But look, man, there are a lot of regular people who work as cops, a lot of regular people. They got to deal with a lot of bad people. And I think, I'm sorry, New York City definitely needs some reforms. They absolutely do. Now, I don't know what reforms they're proposing that's got this guy angry, but I can respect him for walking away in the face of something that he didn't believe aligned with his principles. Respect, okay? We may disagree, but I can respect you standing up. Because I'll tell you what, if the real issue is that you want reforms and you want these reforms, him walking away makes it easier for you, right? I can respect his honor and integrity, standing up for what he believes in, and there you go. Everybody should be happy. Of course, let's not leave out the war. Check this out. From the SBA, NYPD, they said, defy de Blasio, lead the NYPD. Don't be afraid to be fired. Doing what is right and not popular is never easy. Do what is right, and the men and women of the NYPD will walk through the fires of hell with you. Show no fear. De Blasio is weak. Defend the city. Honor your oath. Yes, honor your oath, especially, I believe, the one to uphold the Constitution. There you go. But the issue now is that Bill de Blasio, he's coming for him. He's coming straight up. Look at this. Very substantial cuts are coming to the NYPD amid calls to strip $1 billion from their $6 billion budget. And this article they're responding to says, Police Commissioner Dermot Shea, our criminal justice system is imploding. Yeah, the freaky lefties want it to. They want these people released from prison. They want to abolish prisons. They don't understand why we have prisons. And they really just want to sow chaos and discord. Look, man, I don't like the idea of prisons. I believe we need prison reform. I don't like the idea of private prisons. I think we need to figure out this problem and work towards better methodology and technology in dealing with crime, 100%. But I will tell you, abolishing prisons is insane. Abolishing the police is insane. And watching your city fall apart while shootings skyrocket and the cops are under attack in the media is also insane. All right, man, look, I've had a lot of interactions with NYPD, and they lean slightly negative. Not because every interaction was bad, but because most of them are just boring nonsense interactions. So if I have 10 interactions and it's like, how do you do? Can you tell me where to go? Yes, here you go. Thank you. It's neutral. But then you get a few where it's like, what are you doing? Hey, what's going on here? And that's slightly negative. And that's the problem. Most people have those encounters and they don't really care. They don't really realize the little things the police do for them. When you don't see how the police are protecting your neighborhood, you assume they're not. Out of sight, out of mind. So you can go to Times Square. You can go to Manhattan and experience relatively little crime. We know that per 10,000 residents, as per my previous segment, New York does not track in the top 20 cities. Crime is actually relatively low in New York, though the numbers are large because of the larger population. New York is actually very, very safe. And it's one of the safest cities in the country. Seriously. Even though it does have a large number of crime again. Per capita, not so much. And you can thank the NYPD for that, but you don't see it. You don't watch the cop save someone's life, so you just ignore it. But then you have these minor negative encounters and everybody sees the negative and the worst of the worst. They don't realize what the cops are actually doing. I can't tell you how many times I've walked right up to a cop in New York City. Hey, excuse me, can you tell me how to get to this? I'm looking for that, whatever station. And they're like, yeah, no problem, man. They help you out. They're right there. They can help you out. Now, I know anybody can do that, but I'm just saying there are little things that most people don't realize. These cops know stuff. They can help you. They can point you in the right direction. They're there. They're there. And they are a deterring force for crime, especially, look, man, a lot of people try to play this game where they say that certain minority groups don't feel safe when cops are around. I don't believe it, man. I've had cops kick my door in at gunpoint, and I'll tell you what, when I see cops, I do feel slightly safer, depending on the area. To be honest, when I see cops when I'm driving, I don't feel safer. Nah, I get worried, right? Everybody, you go like, oh man, I'm going to pulled over. When I go outside, I'm out of my own business, and you see cops, I don't think twice. Sometimes I'm a little like, I don't want to get jammed up. But when you're in a big city and you're playing in like a basketball game and and there's cops in the corner, I actually feel a little bit safer. Now, people, I know what they're immediately going to say. They're saying, that's Tim's white privilege. You know what? Spare me, dude. Mixed race, South Side, high school dropout, all that game. You're not going to play that stuff with me, dude. I'm from the South Side. I have had cops jam me up, mess with me, plant drugs in my car, all the bad stuff. And I tell you this, police are still accountable to some extent, right? If a cop breaks the law, yeah, sometimes they cover it up. Sometimes they get away with it. But what's the alternative? A criminal or gangbanger? Nobody's going to hold them accountable except the police. All right, so take what you can get. We'll figure out how to solve these problems. Reform seems to be like the right path. Most people agree. But we got to stop pretending like every single cop is evil. Look, you treat cops with respect, and you need to recognize the world they live in. They're constantly dealing with the dregs of society. So I totally understand why they're going to be on edge and be upset. It's no excuse for violating someone's rights. But I try to have some empathy for other human beings. That is not an excuse for the cops that break the law and violate rights. No, none at all. But when I see a cop who gets mad as a short temper, I'll try to empathize and I'll try to do my best to be accommodating and not cause problems. Guess what? Sometimes you get detained. Sometimes you get arrested. You know what I do? You put your hands behind your back. You go through the motions because think ahead. What's the alternative? Fighting? No, you'll just get charged with more and it's be harder for you to figure out what went wrong. It's tough. The system is not perfect. But it's the best we have for now, and we can improve it. But we need our cops. We do. But we need reforms, let's be honest. Okay? But we can make sure we do it in the right way, and we respect the officers that do go out and do a really... I'm sorry, man. I think it's a crummy job. I think it's an honorable job for the most part. But, man, dealing with the nasty, like the worst all day, especially in New York. You got people like, oh, dude, in L.A., man? Ugh. I've seen some nasty stuff in LA, people taking dumps on the street and stuff. And you want to deal with that? You're a cop. Someone calls you and says they're taking a dump on the street. You got to understand what these cops deal with, man. So let's figure out the right way to do this and not jump the gun and go insane and create a war between our cops and our communities. I got one more segment coming up in just a few minutes. Stick around. I will see you all shortly.